self-control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's just trying some new sound effects. They can hear me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I am your host, Brent Thomas. It is Saturday night, and we are all geared up for another episode of the Paranormal Mayhem. Thank you guys for being here. All of you guys, thank you for spending your Saturday night here with us. We are absolutely thrilled. And yeah, I was just testing to hear. I heard the mics were live during the break before the show, so I was just testing that out. I didn't know you could hear me. But I'm glad you did. I'm glad I wasn't alone in all that stupidity. I'm glad I was sharing it with you directly. But I'm not alone here in the studio either, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
That's still me.
That's you.
I'm still present.
You're always a present. You're the gift that keeps giving, Don.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I'm not quite sure myself. Not sure if I want to take you back.
Oh, goodness. Oh, boy.
To get a refund. I want a new model.
This guy's broken.
He's very broken.
He came out broken in the box.
It's true, ladies and gentlemen, but we are here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. We got a lot of things on the board tonight for you, but it's just kind of a free-form episode, which is fun for us. It's really fun, especially, doing a lot of plan shows and stuff. It's great to just kind of unwind and have a good time with you guys. So I hope you don't mind, but I hope you'll indulge us our 5 minutes of stupidity here.
While we unwind.
I don't know if it's unwinding or winding up. I'm not sure which it qualifies as, but good to see you guys. I see Jimmy Jean's in the chat room on TFR.
Oh,
good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
I hope everything's good in your world. We got Divine Settlers in there. Sphinx One Links. Huh, that's new. I wonder if isn't it? Sphinx One Links?
No.
I mean, it's the same person, but I thought it was Sphinx Silinks or something.
Other. That's another chat room.
Oh, okay. I don't know. All right. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names, ladies and gentlemen. And they left. Well, it was good to see you for a second there. Divine Settlers in here. They're back. Free Energy 13. Don, you're in here.
I am.
Dawn's to you too is in here.
Yes.
Enlightened Dawn is in here too. There's all kinds of Dawn. And Dawn, I love the Dawn. And I love you, Dawns. So
there you go.
I just got that going for me, and I'm in here, and Sophia the Bot is in here too.
Yeah, Sophia the Bot.
Sophia
that's Sphinx. Same guy. Same person.
Gotcha.
Same person.
All right. Same person.
Same person.
All right. So Don, how you doing, by the way?
Doing good. It's Saturday. It's nice. I haven't done anything, but it's been kind of. The weather's just sucks.
Well, come on. It's not snowing. Anything minus snow is okay with my book.
Okay, so Paisley last night on her show goes, I don't know how it is at your place, but the grass is green here, but it looks like it's supposed to snow this weekend. I'm like, I just wanted to scream, shut up! Stop talking!
Yeah, no more. That snow has become a 4-letter word.
It always has been a 4-letter word.
Thank you very much. I'm here all night. Thank you very much. All right, so I got some listener emails I want to get to first.
Awesome.
These are always cool. And ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open, of course. You can always be a part of the portal. Most times you can. Anyway, we try to encourage phone use.
Until we hang up.
Until we're done with you.
You done. Yeah, yeah.
But it is open, and 720-923-0500 is the phone number for the portal. So again, 720-923-0500 is the number for the portal. So I'm sorry we don't have an international call line, so we can't entertain that as well, unfortunately. But we don't have all the perks yet, but we got some perks. So there are 7 users connected, apparently.
Oh.
Sophia says in the TFR chat room.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sophia the bot.
Thank you, Sophia.
We needed you.
I think that's cool they could hear me during the break. That's still cracking me up. I just want to look at this now. I haven't looked at this forever. Nothing. I was just looking and seeing if the live stats were working and could tell me a little something. But let's get to some of these listener emails, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. These are really exciting to me. I love listener emails. The reason being, of course, is that, I think when you guys share your experience, that means so much more to me than just us pulling up stuff that we might want to read to you. Mm-hmm. I did want to, let's see. Okay, so here's a cool one that we got, and I forget. I remember it's a long story. Yeah. I remember this one. So this is a guy right here from the States.
Really?
And a really cool story. His name is Mike Mercury, and he says, "Hi guys, my name is Mike, but anyone that knows me calls me Mercury. This is a semi-long story, and I will miniaturize. I got married and got my first apartment back in the 80s. I remember it was about the time that John Lennon had died, and it was a loft in New Brunswick in New Jersey, a hub for Jersey rockers. We were, and I will ever be," which is cool. Good for you, brother. Nothing monumental at first, although I was very interested in the paranormal. A word removed from my vocabulary now, as I realize we confuse normal with that which we understand it's science to somebody, even if it's organic. Things started disappearing, without exception, things being discussed at the time. Most unusually, food items from our small fridge, and this was a tiny studio above a discotheque with 2 rooms. Always immaculate and uncluttered, and I was always interested in cooking and made dinner parties for friends, band people, and whomever. I was making big money at the time, and I loved feeding people gourmet food that they might never afford the opportunity otherwise, and always lively conversations centered around the dinner and food in general. On so many occasions, I would speak of a new item I just picked up or would go to the fridge to show it to them. Not there. This was disturbing from the very first time, as I had a very keen memory, and also with new cooking tools, bottles of rare wine and liquors, articles in the Aquarian or Rolling Stone, you name it. If I said, "Here it is," there it wasn't. After a while, I began keeping this phenomena to myself, and my spouse, who was experienced, who also experienced strange, although different things, like money, keys, ID, important documents never to be found in my tiny space again. One evening, we had gone into an adjacent bedroom, and I got in bed reading a home accessories pamphlet and was saying, "Let's get this cool thing," and I don't remember what it was. Finally, tucked in, I heard a slightly annoyed voice say, "Okay, let's see what overpriced thing we're getting now." I reached beside me, and you got it. Nowhere to be found. In that bed or on the house again. As always, something I vocalized to present, I actually turned the loft inside out and shook it off. Shook it for about 3 hours, no dice.
Wow.
The following morning, I was sitting dead center of my white kitchen table, or the following morning, it was sitting dead center on my white kitchen table, which always had to have nothing on it except my Waterford candle lamp. I like the spider web of light it produced on the blank palette. So far, so. I I don't know what that means necessarily, but another thing were these polished crystal tall boys I got at faraway places, and I made the fatal mistake of showing off and saying how I loved them. There were 6, all with different animals etched onto them, and one by one they exploded before my eyes until only one remained. My favorite, the elephant. I kept it locked away for like a year until my next Halloween party. It stood before me. It says, it stood before me, and my best friend Teresa on the dragon chest in front, or stood before him and his best friend, sitting on the dragon chest in front of the little couch where we chatted. And I started telling her about the other 5 glasses and thought, oh crap, I hope. So I say to Tess, watch that explode now. And you got it. What a brazen ghost. She was a little flipped out, but quickly got over it after the 2 of us would often charge into the Pine Barrens in search of Mrs. Leeds' 13th child, also known as the Jersey Devil. We were fearless. Now for the interesting part. If you're still with me, of course we're still with you. Aside from finding out I was living in one of the first buildings constructed in New Brunswick, the Huron Street Marketplace, it was a general store and an office for the trade leaving and arriving on the Raritan River, I think that's how you pronounce it, which it was perched next to, and my apartment was the post office, and it was said to be haunted. Excuse me. That's not the good part. I would have dismissed all the proceeding were it not for the minute I left that apartment. Remember how I mentioned much of this centered around food? Well, 2 items I didn't produce were a new brand of hamburgers and Frank's, and I had just discovered called Best, capital B-E-S-T. I had a large box of each, and in that little freezer taking up nearly all the space. And, of course, me and my mouth announced that we were going to be using those for the catering and went to show the box. You got it, not there. This was several years before that hot summer day we moved. I had cleaned the place and wiped out and unplugged that little fridge. I'd already packed the air conditioner, and it was sweltering. Taking a final look upon exit, I said, "Hey, why did you close the fridge?" I had purposely left the doors open, so being the neat freak I am, I darted back one last time to open the freezer door, and before my eyes, in that sweltering heat, were 2 large boxes, 1 hamburgers and 1 frankfurters, sporting a nice layer of frost on them. I had to rub it off to read the label, Best. The cold felt nice, and apparently this gentleman was referred to us by Wes Germer of Sasquatch Chronicles. He said, Wes Germer recommended your show to me, and since I have no Sasquatch to report, you can consider this a gift from him. You are the first and only ones to know this. Do with it whatever you like.
Well, we read it and we loved it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And he and I exchanged emails a couple of times, but really interesting guy, really wild experience. That's a hell of a lot of activity.
No doubt.
To have those kind of deports happening regularly is pretty.
I liked how he said he was reading through the brochure and he put it down and he goes, "What kind of overpriced stuff are we looking at today?" And it disappears. I'd be like, "That's me."
the ghost of Don's wallet.
Get that out of here.
Your wallet deports things.
No doubt. Oh, we ain't got enough. Just throw it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even think about it, Don.
Oh, yeah, but really wild activity though, huh?
Crazy, yeah.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for submitting that and sending it in. That was a pleasure to read it. I'm sorry it took a while. I actually got that a couple or 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
But I finally got around to it tonight. First of all, I thought I'd misplaced it, but I did find it. Oddly enough, I actually couldn't find the email the last time we did ghost stories.
Maybe it deported.
I know.
It's like, not yet. You don't get that one yet.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, God, it just was gone. I was hunting for it.
His spirits, we're talking to the spirits in the office or the studio here.
The studio spirits, right?
It's like, okay, yeah, we'll do that one for you.
But thank you so much for sending that in. I really, really appreciate it. So, all right. So this next one I find incredibly interesting. And so it's being the author of this and I had a lot of dialogue about this story that I'm about to read you. I'll get into our dialogue in a little bit, but let me read you the story. An incredible experience, and this is from
It's from Hollywood.
From Hollywood. It is. So, listener goes by Hollywood. So
What?
this part. We'll get back to that one. Let me pull up another one. I don't know if I can read it now because that one didn't go quite right. So I'll come back to that one. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Is Utah a dry state? Do you know? Like they don't. Oh no, they can't be.
no. I'm
No?
sure there's pubs and all stuff all over there.
Huh.
Yeah, I think Mormons are, but I don't know about that. So now this one is.
Sorry, Hacker was saying something. So
Oh, okay. Let's just get random here. All right, so I'll have to shelf that one for now. But
I'm not reading that.
no, I
Doing it.
we'll come back to it another time. Not for any reason that was obvious. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the right
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to this next one. This one comes from another listener who says, "I am subscribed to the Paranormal Portal for some time now, and I enjoy listening to all your shared knowledge and the stories a lot. I find it very relaxing, and you also have a very calming voice to listen to."
Wow.
Aw, that's really cool. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad people feel that. I'm glad I'm not like Gilbert Godfrey up here. I often thought about sharing this story somewhere, and thought maybe it's interesting for the show. This experience has basically ruined our short vacation last year, which was 2018 to Ardennes, Belgium. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Ardennes or Ardennes, Belgium. My sister L, her boyfriend T, my mother M, and myself went on a few short trips to this beautiful forestry region in the last couple of years. Many old villages and history can be found here. Also, a lot of WW2 history. And this year we rented a sort of old barn-style house in a region we didn't visit before. It looked very romantic and light on the pictures. It looked very romantic and light on the pictures as we all agreed that this would be our vacation address. There was a heat wave and extreme drought for months as we arrived in my brother-in-law's Land Rover. Even though it was only a 2 to 3 hour drive, we were very happy to get out of the car upon arrival. The family who rented the house lived on the same property, and as we found the key to the home, we had to wait for a while for someone to arrive and guide us around the house. The first strange thing was that the house wasn't cleaned, as apparently the hostess didn't receive the right date for our visit. The husband of the lady who lived on the property showed up, and after a while, and he showed us the house and made a very rushed and nervous impression. Drenched in sweat, he rushed through the old house, taking out garbage and telling us not to go into the attic.
Oh.
That's
Don't go in the basement. Okay.
No, it's the attic.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Just don't go in the attic.
The door to the attic stood open a tiny bit and had a sign hanging with "Forbidden Entrance." Yeah, that's never a good sign.
Don't go in the attic.
Yeah, challenge accepted. It still felt like a beautiful place, however, an old farmhouse with exposed timber and old relics everywhere. Maybe a bit darker inside than shown online, but it still felt like a beautiful place. But this introduction all started to make more sense later on, looking back on the whole experience. It quickly became apparent that the home was badly maintained. Doorknobs just fell off as you touched them, and ornamental pieces on the staircase set loose on their footing. As also the toilet downstairs had problems functioning. That'd be a bad thing to find out if you weren't prepared. So note to people, if you're gonna go rent a place that's
Make sure.
poorly maintained, just give everything a courtesy flush first
Yeah. And then stand back.
and stand back. Yeah, from the side maybe is the best. Just saying. You don't want to figure out a toilet doesn't work after you roll the deuce or something, Well, that's not going anywhere. Go get a cup.
Oh no.
I'm just saying,
That's disgusting.
what are you gonna do, right? I don't know. That's the way my mind works,
So you're
ladies and
saying
gentlemen.
check the plumbing.
check the plumbing whenever you rent something. Give everything a quick flush and make sure everything's functioning. It just occurred to me, so I'm just trying to be proactive here. So the toilet downstairs didn't work. The staircase was also very squeaky, something you would expect from such an old building. We went to a village nearby to go out to dinner and came back later that night, and we spent some time outside looking at Mars, which was clearly visible with the naked eye during this period. It was also still very humid as we moved inside, and T was tired and went to bed earlier than us, and the time before the three of us also went to bed, we spent joking around. At some point, we got into a sort of trance. We were laughing and following each other through the house, playing with our shadows that were projected from the hallway lights on the old wooden walls each time we passed them. At some point, we all went to bed, and I slept in the room next to L and T, and my mother slept in another room further down the hallway. Both my mother and I experienced nothing strange that night and slept well. The following is what my sister and boyfriend experienced. I came downstairs for breakfast, and the first thing I saw was T's face, looking upset and repeating the words, "I'm not sleeping here anymore." This is what happened sometime between 3 and 5 a.m. that morning to the both. My sister woke up hearing things move around above her on the attic, and T was still asleep at this point. Eventually, she woke up T, and they both listened to other strange sounds in the shower. The water turned on and off, and their bedside lamps started making a ticking sound and turned on by itself, followed by a hard slap, as if someone smacked the book hard with what sounded like a flat palm on one of the books laying on the nightstand. By that time, it was around 5 a.m. when a group of crows gathered at their front windows, making quite some noise. Somehow, they still managed to drift off after all of this, or sleep with one eye open. The next T remembers while asleep is floating above the bed, looking down and seeing another older couple sleeping in their bed, followed by being pushed down hard onto the mattress and getting a high voltage shock from something or some entity. This, of course, woke him right away. Especially T was looking pale and traumatized by the events and wanted to leave that place the next morning. We were contemplating our options and decided to stay just one more night after a long discussion, as we didn't want to end our vacation this quickly. After calling the rental organization and complaining about the state of the home that day, not mentioning it's actually haunted, we managed to receive another address to divert to, not too far away. It proved to be a very depressing place compared to what seemed so picturesque, at least free of the intense, dreadful, dark energy that we wanted to get away from. The next night, we all slept in my small room. T and L in my bed, and my mother and myself slept on the floor, and it felt as if I was guarding the entrance with my own energy. People have mentioned that my energy is loving, peaceful, and calm, and maybe it's true that the spirits didn't enter my room or also remained calm because of that. Even though I didn't experience what T and L experienced in the room next to me, I felt very tense, keeping my eyes peeled at the open door and hallway that night. We kept all the lights on in the haunted room, as supposedly spirits do prefer darkness. Despite the anxiety, Elle and I were still also intrigued by the events. At some point, Elle went into the room to take a look, and we heard a scream as a giant European hornet came flying underneath the curtains, flying straight towards her. She slammed the door and went back to our safe space. Unbelievably, but true, it also started to thunder and rain. It did bring some much-needed cooler air through the small window. At some point, I heard what sounded like an electric current. I walked into the hallway but couldn't locate the sound at first. I lifted a picture frame on the wall a little bit, and there was a moth, stuck, frantically flapping its wings between the wall and the picture frame. Besides a few undefined squeaks, not much happened that night. The next morning we packed and were happy to leave. We looked into the haunted room, and the hornet was right at the door, laying dead on the floor. The people who rented the place had a Siamese cat that came in to say goodbye, or possibly warn us in some way. She meowed nonstop. Her tone became different soon as she entered the staircase. It sounded higher pitched and more concerned, almost. Me and T were sitting at the dinner table as she walked by, and she made a sudden grunt between all the regular meows. We never saw the owners the next door anymore, and just left. After 2 of the 5 days spent, it also felt like they wanted not much to do with the house, yet they had it up for rent. We felt that the owners might definitely have known about it being haunted, even though we never had any more contact with them after we left. We remained on edge during what was left of our short vacation. It was a frightening, stressful experience, and it took a few weeks to realize what happened there stayed there.
Break time.
Break time.
Excellent timing.
That is perfect. Thank you for reading it, Brent. It would be incredible to hear it back on your show. Well, there you go. And thank you so much for sharing it with us. We got one more to read tonight, and then we'll do that on the other side of the break. So don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paranormal Portal. I'm still your host, Brent Thomas. You're stuck with me and with my co-pilot, madman to my right. Looks like he's on my left, but he's on my right. Mr. Don Longbeard is here.
That's still me for some reason.
For some reason. You know, you didn't light your candle, did you?
Oh, I didn't. I probably didn't want to burn my face off.
Yeah, well, we're always rooting for you to keep your face.
Well, I meant my beard. You know how I'm good at that.
I know.
Actually, I can't.
That's funny. My mom used to always say that.
What's that?
I got to go put my face on.
How do you take it off?
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, you just got one now. What the hell's going on?
Mom here scaring me.
Yeah, she always called it putting on her makeup, putting her face on. Her identity was in a jar.
Oh, goodness.
No,
At least it wasn't a jar.
No, it was all pretty symmetrical. So,
okay.
And still is. Anyway, but yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing a Mayhem episode, which is always a lot of fun for us. We have a good time with it. So
Randall says the entity is back with Dawn messing up the music.
you heard that? You heard that static?
Yeah, apparently they did. But you know what I realized the other night? I'm sorry. But you know what I realized? It can't be me. You know why it can't be me? Because I use sage and black pepper body wash. So I sage myself every day. It can't be me. It just
What
can't
are you?
be.
Are you a roast or what the hell's going on?
That's
That's called a marinade, Don. I think you got your grilling supplies mixed up with your toiletries.
Sounds right to me.
I bathe with A1.
Oh,
I don't know what the hell's wrong with us. This is why they're called Mayhem episodes.
We're
Though. That's all I'm going to say.
We're broken.
Don's broken. I'm
Hollywood says makes sense to me. There you go. Nice.
We got one more story to go through tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get to that, and then I'll continue on our epic journey tonight. And so this one is pretty cool. My dream began with me in a white room. I couldn't say how I got there, but I know someone. Smaller fonts. I know. Okay, let me blow this up first before
Don't blow it up. Zoom in.
It's already at 150, but I don't know why this one's so much. Let me go to 175.
Well, the 12-point font at 150 would be fine. This person must have used like 8 or 9 font.
Yeah. So my dream began with me in a white room. I couldn't say how I got there, but I knew somehow that it was on a spaceship. Eventually, I became aware of my surroundings and noticed that I wasn't alone. There were a number of beings in that room with me, but we were all in our own space, spread out evenly. And I remember being really curious about the room and the other occupants that were in there, but having no desire to roam around or look for an escape, almost as though I was being compelled to stay put. I also noticed the beings in the room with me were not human. Some looked similar, with human-like features and on 2 legs, but nothing like what we have on Earth. I noted all the different shapes and sizes and colors, and for some reason, this all didn't frighten me. The entire thing felt like a memory, as though I've been here before. It was a bizarre sensation, this feeling of familiarity. One being in particular stood out to me. It was a wild man, for lack of a better description. He looked almost like a Native American with long dark hair and reddish-looking skin. However, he was at least 8 feet tall and hairy all over. His arms were long and out of proportion, and he also had a very intense black eyes. When we made eye contact, I could tell this was an intelligent being. I don't know why, but I knew he was older than he appeared to be, with probably more knowledge and experience than I could even fathom. His facial expression remained the same during our perusal of one another and until he looked up as though sensing movement. When I looked up, I noticed I wasn't being held in a room at all. There was no ceiling or walls, and it was just an empty space with no end in sight. When I looked back, everything was gone, and I was transported into what looked like a medical center with strange devices and equipment. I was also strapped to a gurney of sorts, but again, I wasn't afraid. All of a sudden, there was someone standing over me, and I never saw them enter, and as far as I could tell, there wasn't a door to access this room at all. They were wearing a white uniform and a face mask, so the only thing I could see were the large, black, oily-looking eyes. It raised its hand to place over my eyes, and I could feel myself drifting off. And it was then that I awoke from the dream feeling completely drained, both physically and mentally. I also had this, sorry, I got something in my mouth. I also had this strange sensation that even though I was awake, I was still in a dream and that nothing I was seeing or touching was actually real. Eventually, I did finally come back to myself and things seemed to get normalized. Recently, I found a podcast that talked about cryptids. The very first episode I listened to was about Sasquatch. I've heard of Sasquatch, and I've seen the Patty footage, but never really thought much of it one way or another. However, I was really intrigued when I heard discussion regarding a Sasquatch that looked more human than animal. And I then started researching encounters where there were description of creatures that looked like a Neanderthal or caveman. I am certain the wild man from my dream was a Sasquatch. I couldn't understand why. I would dream of something I hadn't even given any thought to before. And this led me to question if it was even a dream at all. It sounds too fantastic to be real. And the logical part of my brain wants to roll my eyes at myself, but this just feels different. More like an experience and less like a dream. Since this experience, there have been times when I'm certain I've been in that moment before. It goes way beyond deja vu and feels more like a glitch, as though someone or something attempted to reset the moment. It's definitely strange, and I can't substantiate or explain it, but I hope one day to make sense of it all. Thanks for letting me share, and have a good night. Now, I'm pretty confident that this was no dream. I'm really pretty confident that this was probably either a reclaimed memory of being abducted or it was an actual abduction at that time. What this person is explaining is not unlike so many other abduction scenario stories that we've heard. Wouldn't you agree?
No, it doesn't. The only part about it that I haven't heard before was necessarily the wild hairy man,
Right.
and so and that points to something that Duke was talking about. Maybe he wasn't talking about it on the show.
He and I were talking about
Yeah,
that very thing. Now, here's
Yeah.
the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Oftentimes, people make this leap about Bigfoot being extraterrestrial because first they see a flying saucer and then they see Bigfoot, and they seem to correlate that the Bigfoot came from the flying saucer,
Right,
like
yeah.
it got dropped off or something. Now, here's the thing: we know that UFOs take specimens. They take they take cows. They take they do all kinds of weird experiments on different things in these abduction scenarios. They take humans. So it only stands to reason that they would also take and examine these other beings that exist
Right.
in our worlds. Now, I've always thought that the correlation was more that we know that, or we believe that Sasquatch watch us for entertainment. Like we're the most interesting thing going on. But if there was a bunch of weird lights and stuff going on, I imagine that they'd be like, "Hey, what the hell's that?" And kind of lose their focus on hiding, and maybe would just stand up and go, "Huh?" And maybe that's when they're seen because they're checking it out too. Now, I never really had considered the whole abduction scenario until
Right.
I heard this email, and I was like, "Wait a minute." Why wouldn't they also be abducted? Why wouldn't they also be researched? They're part of the fauna of this earth.
Right,
So,
right.
and these abduction scenarios seem to be these advanced intelligent beings from somewhere else that are checking out what's going on here. And many people have postulated that perhaps we're in a zoo and, they're just coming through in their cars checking out the exhibits. But, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. But why couldn't they also abduct those beings? I find that really interesting. And I think this person had an abduction and perhaps has had many. Normally, these things just don't start and stop. They're often known to happen to bloodlines.
Yeah.
Generational abductions are going on in a lot of cases. So I'm sure that's why it's more than deja vu, is that it's not the first time. And some part of their brain is remembering that and going, no, we do this all the time, And I don't mean to make light of it in any way. I mean, it's a very unnerving and unreal thing, but I really think this is not a dream.
So you've had this story for a while then?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I have.
Wow.
Yeah, and quite honestly, we've been doing a lot of stuff lately, and
Yeah, we haven't gotten around to them.
right. So I just thought, since we had, I like to hold on to stories for a while because, reading one story is great, but reading 5 stories is five times better. Yeah. So I mean, I like to hang on to them until we have a few.
I would like to ask that the person who wrote that if they've ever come across odd marks on their bodies, like in innocuous places like the back of the elbows or just under the back of the arm,
Right.
Near the ankle, between like the ankle and the heel.
Yeah.
Also, like triangle impressions on your fingertips.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible that we could reach out to the author and find those things out. But yeah, really cool. And really, really thank all of you people who have submitted stories to us. And if you have a story of your own and you're hearing the show and you'd like to share it, we'd love to hear it and share it on the show as well. We don't mind the nature of the story as long as it's paranormal.
Yeah.
It's going to fit right in here.
It's a mayhem show.
It is a mayhem show, but I think these are all fantastic stories tonight, and a special thanks again to Mr. Germer for sending over the one that was very paranormal and very cool, very bizarre. All that stuff kept disappearing and exploding. Wow.
I want to talk to the people that were in Belgium and say, why did you not go to the attic? I mean, come on. Challenge accepted. You said it yourself.
I know.
Let's do this.
I know. Well, I mean, I just have to know what the hell's going on up there. Why no admittance? I mean, they got a safe up there?
Norman's mom's in
There's some body up there?
Yeah. Somebody.
It's the last renters that didn't pay. Yeah, exactly. You never know.
That's why they never heard from him again.
Yeah, exactly. They paid their bill. You only hear when they don't pay. So it's the Roach Motel.
Oh, no.
You check in, but you don't check out.
Oh, boy.
So anyway, yeah, but cool stories. I really love that part of the show. It honestly is like one of my most favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, well, that was the whole idea behind the portal to begin with, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, call-ins and emails for sure. That was always what I had in mind when I was envisioning what the portal was. And again, it was largely based upon Sasquatch Chronicles because I was like, hey, I'm going to put the shingle out and people are going to call in just like Sasquatch Chronicles. And
here we are 3 years later, right?
Yeah, and finally people are calling in and we have our own phone line and people are using it. But
we've grown up
so
much.
I know it only took 3 years, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, which to me is a huge success story. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if it is or not. I don't know what to pace this against because I honestly don't know how other people's shows developed and how they got to where they are. But I know that, I always love when people reach out with their experiences. And I really learn the most when those things happen. I truly do. I've said that many times, but I'm not just doing lip service to something. I mean, honestly, I do. I learn every time.
Travis says, someone call in and tell a crazy story.
Call in, the board's open. It's always open.
Gosh. Yeah, our door's always open. You guys just have to shut it on the way in.
The doctor is in.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh, they call me Dr. Love. I'm just saying.
Oh,
You
man.
need my love, baby. Oh, so.
And you told me I have to stop karaoke.
On the podcast. On the podcast. During the shows, it's fine. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, fine.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget, Monday is going to be our first podcast released to the ethers. Not the aethers, the ethers.
Are you sure?
Ethers or aethers? I don't know. Either one. Wherever you get your podcast from, definitely look and find it. I'd really appreciate your support as we're just launching.
MCAT's on the phone.
Is he? Wow. That was a pretty prompt call-in. All right, let me.
He's calling in to give us a crazy story.
That's the rules.
While you do that, Hacker wrote in the chat. He says, "Now, Don, when you bathe with some salt, pepper, and garlic, then we're gonna have to beat you with a meat tenderizer." Yes, sage and black pepper. It's kind of tingly on my
Never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind. This is a family show. I'm trying
Sage
to
and black pepper body wash sounds like something those essential oil peddlers have been cooking up. Well, probably, but you know what? I can mix my own
Why
essential
are all
oil
my
things.
pages all screwed up?
I don't know what happened now.
I don't know. I'm not finding the live panel that I did have open. Maybe it closed on me somehow. Maybe I closed it somehow, or I pulled it out somewhere. Oh, no, what? You know what? I know what happened. I've got way too many things open here. This one, and then there's this one.
You have 2 call boards open too.
Yeah, I know. That happens all the time. I got stuff open everywhere. There it is. I found it, and as I found it, I will minimize it. Sorry, I'll get to your call here in a second, MCAT. I'm...
He's slightly confused.
Well, not slightly. I'm all kinds of confused. But I at least got this figured out now, which is good. So I'm just trying to still set up from the beginning of the show.
Oh, they're killing me.
Why?
Asher Hall says, "I wonder if your steaks taste like ocean breezes." That's what I used before I switched to sage and black pepper. Actually,
Don marinades himself every day.
I have that irresistible scent.
Now, before we go any further, special thanks. Special thanks, Jess, for my birthday card. I appreciate it. Very cool. I always love it. And this is the birthday card. I'm just going to cover up all those numbers there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is my card. I'm not letting out how old I am. How do you know how old I am? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, can I share something too?
Please.
Our friend Lady Death, thank you very much. She sent me a coffee cup. The coffee cup, I don't know if we can see it on. I don't know. Can you see it? I don't know. But it says human beings come in all colors.
Human beings.
Human beings.
Well, you can see a big white light.
That's not working, is it?
There you go. That's a little better, I think.
It didn't work.
Not
Here,
really.
How about
there? It was. Pull it back to your there.
Oh, okay.
That's about right. I guess. Let me go full screen on you here. Let's go full beard vision.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yes, Black Tree. I know it's too bright. I'm not very good at lighting. But anyhow.
Don prefers the darkness.
And it says on the back, it says, "Have you hugged a human being today?" She said she saw that and had to send it to me. So there we go. We've got a bunch of beans in the house today.
That's right. Oh, yeah. This is cute. It has mine has dwarves on it, which is perfect.
Nice.
It says the dwarves
Switchback.
at whatever numbers on here that I'm not going to say out loud because I haven't come to terms with it personally. I'm older, but I'm really immature. Does that help?
We're only as old as we feel.
Yeah, that's right. It's got squinty, itchy, gassy, saggy, cranky, gimpy, and snoozy. Those are my dwarves.
Gimpy must be me.
And she drew a picture of a Coca-Cola. Your nectar. It's the nectar of the gods.
Nectar of the Brents.
Make a wish. She drew a cake, and very cool. So, thank you so much. Says happy birthday and way more or many more. Hi to Don, wife and minion. Take care. Sincerely, your Parapeep.
Parapeep.
Yeah, Parapeep fan, Jess. Thank you, Jess. That's very sweet. I really appreciate it. I know you're still waiting on that postcard, but I'm here to tell you. They're not easy to find.
They're
here.
not. Yeah, it's crazy.
I got Don even
Welcome
scouting
to
for
Idaho.
Yeah. They apparently don't want company.
I can attest to that.
What was I going to do now? Oh, call board.
Call board.
I'm sorry, Cat. I left you hanging there for a while, but welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Well, I just got done working and trying to relax a little bit.
Oh, fantastic.
Somebody asked for some strange stories, and so, I got them.
Sweet.
Well, please share, sir. We'd love to hear them.
No. I don't tell this one a lot because it's really quite sad.
Oh.
And I think there's something paranormal to it, although I can't necessarily prove it. This is just from what people that I know can sense things have told me. So this is the story. This happened, it would have been the late 80s, so like 88. We had a neighbor that lived next door to us, and they had a pool in the backyard.
Oh, boy.
Mm.
And see where this is going?
Yeah.
So they had a young boy.
Aww.
One day the boy goes missing. Now, before this happened, Mom was very intent. You don't go swimming in that pool. Never really said why. She just said, I don't want you going in there. Don't go in there. Especially don't go in there by yourself.
Right.
But just don't go in there. So one day, this little boy goes missing. Whole neighborhood is on alert because we just had a couple of newspaper boys get kidnapped
Oh, geez.
in 82 and 84, right? You heard Johnny Gosh? He lived about 15 blocks from me.
Oh.
So we're looking all over for this kid. You could see the pool from the kitchen area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this young couple, they're going crazy. Have you looked in the pool? Yeah, I could see the pool from right here. He's not in the pool. So the dad walks up to the pool, and the kid is stuck to the side underwater.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And what we could figure was he was reaching for something, got caught up in the filtration system, and that held him on the side underwater.
Oh, God.
Oh, what a heartbreaker.
Right? Awful.
Yeah.
So this is the strange part. First of all, my grandmother predicted this happening 2 weeks before it happened. She called up one day, and she was acting kind of strange, and she said, how's everything going? She's talking to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
How's everything going? Everything's fine. How are the boys? Are the boys okay? Yeah, the boys are fine. We got that new neighbor. How's that little boy doing? Is he okay? Yeah, Mom, what's going on? I read in the paper that little boy drowned. 2 weeks later, he did.
Oh, wow.
So, when probably 10 years later, I talked to my mom pretty regular.
Uh-huh.
And she was saying, I always felt that house wanted somebody.
Mm.
That's why I didn't want you going in the pool, because there was either something in the house or there was something about the house. It wanted somebody. And it was going to use the pool to get it, and that's why I didn't want you going in there.
Oh, that's such a heartbreaker.
The day that they left, it is. The day that they left for Colorado in 93. Yeah, the movers come and get everything. They're pulling out of the driveway in the car. There was a large tree in the front yard of this house. Mom looks over and sees a large, all-white owl just burning holes in her.
Oh, wow.
Just giving her the stare down. She looks over and says, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Wow. That is intense.
Wow.
It's an owl? Like a white owl?
Yeah. An all-white, very large owl in the tree just staring her down.
Yikes. Oh, man.
And she said, yeah, it's time to go. Let's go.
Time to get out. Time to get out. Yeah, that's so sad. Wow. You know, that's the kind of thing, being a parent, of course, it continues to be my biggest fear, that I would ever have to endure that. I don't know if I could, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think it would, if anything would kill me by sorrow, it would be having to bury one of my children. You know, it's.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too, definitely.
Wow.
And that's why I don't like talking about it, but it's, you know, I get the feeling like there was definitely something to it. I don't know what for sure, but
Wow, yeah.
you know, and I would like to go back to that place and knock on the door and see if anybody's experienced, but I'm not quite sure the protocol. Like, how do you go about that?
Right.
Just knock on the door.
Yeah.
Hi.
Any weird owls or little ghosts? Yeah.
Any weird things? Yeah, I'm here to shave legs. Let me see your legs. Are they hairy? Oh, perfect.
Well, wow, that was an interesting turn. You know, a few of the people in
see
chat.
that coming.
Yeah, no doubt. A few of the people in our chat. One, Asher says owls relate to Lilith, which would be, of course,
Sure.
a reference to Adam's
wife.
Adam's first wife, right?
Yep. She's supposed to prey on children, as a matter of fact. Yep.
And then Paisley.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Paisley, from the spaces between, an owl resting near a home is often a portent of death. D.
Wow.
D says owls are very connected with abductions. So there you go.
Do you want to hang on the line and we'll come back in just a minute, MCAT?
Sure, no problem.
All right, guys, we're going to go to our hour break, and we'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal. Get your break, get your rest, get your loo, and get a drink, and meet us back here. Wow, don't go away.
That is insane.
Truth Frequency Radio is...
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid toy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Well, and there you go, ladies and gentlemen, straight from the horror central of America, that nasty stuff that we call Poltergeist. Crazy movies. Oh, so anyhow, here we are back in the Paranormal Portal. Nice to still have you with us. Still a lot of talk about owls in the chat room. That's some of the stuff I just read there just is amazing. It's just amazing. But to get on with the show, we do have our friend MCAT on the phone. MCAT, you still there?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. Yeah, so interesting stuff said in the chat room there about owls. Dee also said something about there was a guy who did studies of owls and how they related to, or how many people see owls just before an abduction. So, yeah, strangeness there.
You're talking the UFO abduction, right?
She didn't really say. She just said abduction. Now, I could imagine she's pointing. You know, that could be possible. She could be pointing at UFO abductions. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and plus Asher said in the chat, it reminded Asher of the movie The Fourth Kind, because there were owls in that one as well. So there you go. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, there were.
So
amazing stuff. Yeah, that's just really creepy. I'm really, it's one of those things. I think there's symbols for a reason. I think there's a lot of power in the whole symbolism and what does that stuff represent? Because, I mean, numerology is an expression of numeric symbols representing hidden truths or hidden information, and so the Native Americans, of course, have a strong belief around the totem animals and what do they represent, what do they mean, and so many other cultures as well. So I think those things are important, and I really think that those things kind of demonstrate a universal intelligence, like whether you want to call it God or whatever you want to refer to it as. Mm-hmm. But I think that's just all a part of uncovering the puzzle of all of this,
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Would you agree with that, MK?
Yeah, I think yeah, I do. I think you're on the right track.
Yeah. So when are you going to be investigating again? Are you doing any investigating in the near future?
Yeah, when it starts warming up, I know there's a cemetery nearby that I want to look at, and there's a couple other people that I know that are, hey, you should come check out my house. It's like, well, when I got some time, I'll come check it out.
Now during the summer months, are you more down, or do you do as much driving, or how does that work?
Well, I always do a lot of driving, but it's nice to work outside when it's warm because it gets cold in Iowa.
Yeah, that's true. It does. There's not a lot breaking the wind out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
I've been through Iowa many times, and it's like, you can see tomorrow's weather coming. There's like no bumps. It's one big plain. And I mean that kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of true too, because it's pretty flat through Iowa and Nebraska and stuff.
Oh, I hated driving through Iowa. God.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, 80 is fairly flat. You get some up and downs up in the bluffs out on the west side, but it starts to flatten out there because of all that glacial till that got scraped off 12,000 years ago.
that really didn't happen. We know it really didn't happen, right, MCAT?
Yes. We know it really happened. Well, I mean, I used to work in construction quality control for an engineering firm between 2000 and 2003. And, there was a lot of dirt crews would go out in the cornfield. You dig down a little bit and you can see a drastic change from one dirt layer to the next.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so the engineer's like, yeah, that's glacial till. That dirt came from somewhere else, and this is the dirt that was originally here.
Yep.
There's a clear, distinct line that you can see from one to the next.
Right. Hey, if you ever get a chance, there's a place in Washington called Pothole State Park. It's just outside of Moses Lake, and Pothole State Park was berg tilled. Oh, they're huge. It's an amazing, if you can see it from the sky, it's just amazing the courses that were cut through there. As a matter of fact, there's a guy named Randall Carlson who teamed up with Graham Hancock and did a lot of researching, and they have drone footage from Pothole State Park. It's just amazing.
Wow.
Sorry, it's not very paranormal.
Wow, yeah, I should check that out.
When you said Pothole State Park, I thought you were talking about roads in Wisconsin. Boom, boom. Thank you very much.
Ah! That's a good one. Or Indiana, or Illinois.
Thank you.
Pothole State Park.
I just thought of roads because it's kind of pothole season now, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
All the snow's gone and all those big gaps.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure you know better than all of us.
Snow's gone. They're all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of good roads, a lot of bad roads. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So when you're going to investigate this cemetery, how will you do it? What will be your approach? I'm kind of curious about this because this is something Don and I have talked about doing around here, and I'm just thinking in terms of EVPs and such. But what else are you going to bring to the table when you go to the cemetery?
I've got a friend of mine that used to be on the team with me, and so I'm gonna take that person along. Anytime, especially at a cemetery or any outside place at night, you want an extra person along.
Oh yeah.
Just one for your safety in case you roll an ankle or you hurt yourself and you're 10 miles from civilization and there's no cell phone range. Now you're in trouble. But also for verification if something happens, then now you have a witness that can see, you being dragged off in the woods or whatever would happen. Right? You got an extra witness that can corroborate some of the evidence that you're collecting. But it's going to be notebook and pen, digital voice recorders. I've got a couple of them. I've got some of the trap cameras, the hunting trap cameras. Get some camera angles on them. The thermal, of course. The two static cams that I have. The one that's a regular DSLR, and then the full spectrum DSLR.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot of angles covered then. Now, just curiously, is this most times cemeteries are closed at night, but do you obviously get permission, right? Or are you,
yes.
Are you gate jumping?
That's a very important point to note. To get permission because most of them, they close at sundown. Right. It's private property. Get permission before you go because you will be arrested if the cops show up. So
okay.
I happen to know the people that own this, so I already have permission from them. So that's all good to go.
Now, curiously, is it generally difficult to get permission to do investigations in places like cemeteries? I've never tried, so I don't know.
No, most of the time, no.
Okay.
Most of the time, no. Now, if it depends on the place.
Right.
Some people might not want you there messing around at night, and they'll just decline it right out, and you'll have to figure something else out. But most of the time, you can get permission to get to a cemetery at night.
Okay. And are they generally and this is just me being stupid, I guess, but are they generally tied to a church, or do you usually have to get permission from a church, or are they?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious because again, this is something that Don and I are planning to do as these warm months approach us here as well. So, I'll be definitely getting in touch with you regarding that because I'd like to discuss, approaches and technique and how to do it all.
Most of it is really straightforward. After I get all the equipment set up, but I'll do houses the same way.
Okay.
I'll generally have a kind of a greeting to the house or the place, and it usually goes to something like, hello, my name is Mike. This is my friend Brent and Don. We're just here to listen to anything that you might have to say.
Oh, okay.
We're not here to drive you away. We're not here to make you leave. You might notice we have some things laid out. None of that's going to harm you. If you want to speak to us, we'll be able to listen to anything you might have to say. That's all we're here to do.
Very cool.
That's actually kind of a good point because Brent and I were talking about like when you do a session with a Ouija board, you open it properly and you close it properly. And we also talk about, defining your space. If you think you have something in your house, you define your space. I would have never thought about introducing myself in a spot like that. That's actually pretty pertinent information.
Right. I think it is. I think that's a good approach. Because I think in most cases, these kind of things, they're not all ghosts. Most ghosts, I think, are just, they're just in their zone or in their state and they don't want to be a problem and they don't want to be bothered either, but opening that way, I think shows respect and courtesy and
right. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's
I think that's the name of the game. I think you wouldn't want to kick somebody's door in and then start being aggressive. I think that the name of the game is respect. For the most case, these are just people. You wouldn't treat living people like that. Why would you be, for anything else? So it's just that's just how I play it.
Right. No, I think you're right. I think that's a wonderful approach. Good call, brother.
Yeah, that's awesome information. Yeah, I would have never thought of it.
Excellent. And it's always a pleasure to hear from you. I do look forward to hearing how all that goes. But yeah, we'll be in touch. Actually, I want to get in touch with you as well. For the podcast, I'd like to do an episode with you if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No problem. But when I am able to do that, I'm going to be really putting a lot of that out there so that anything I find, I'm going to let you guys know, so don't worry.
Wow. Excellent, brother. I appreciate it, and thank you a bunch.
All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good night.
We'll talk later, MCAT.
All right. Have a good night and relax and unwind, and we'll be here talking to you.
All right. See you later, bud.
Wow. That's pretty pertinent information. And I suppose before you leave, you also want to say, thank you for letting us be here.
Yes.
Make sure you stay here.
Yeah. Thank you for your kindness and welcoming us here. This investigation is now closed. You are not allowed to follow me home. You're not allowed to embed yourself in any of my equipment. Whatever the case may be.
It won't be your equipment. It'll be my equipment. What are we talking about here? We know they want to follow me home for some reason. I don't know.
Well, you're just
special.
It's the beard.
Special.
It's the beard because I think it generates a static charge which they can use to manifest.
Right. Uh-huh.
Same reason
always blame the beard.
Same reason the mic doesn't work very much.
No, it's like,
Don't tempt fate. I'm just saying. We finally got it working.
Black Tree says, get your ectoplasm off my things. That's funny.
Oh, I can't even touch that at all. As much as I'd like to respond.
I never touch the ectoplasm.
I'm just going to let that glide too. It's really hard doing a family-friendly show. Doing a family-friendly show is oftentimes a real struggle for me.
Especially when you have someone like me sitting next to you.
I know you just roll out these turds, and I want to just go.
he wants to pick them up.
Yeah, wow.
And just run with them.
Yeah, because I love me some turds. No, I'm just
Oh.
kidding. But no, it's just these things all jump in my head. It's like, nope.
Nope.
My
That's a big
show
nope.
filter's on. I can't do it.
All I can do is throw out the fishing pole with the lure on it. That's it. See what
I know.
happens.
Yeah, just make me struggle. I appreciate that a bunch.
Naysay, how are ya? Naysay, the phone number is 720-923-0500.
Exactly. But we do have another call here.
We
and this is
do.
Miss Diane is calling us. How you doing, Diane?
Hey, you're probably sick of hearing from me by now.
No, we couldn't
Hi
get sick
there.
of you. We love you. Why? How could we ever get sick of that?
I love you too. I love you guys. We know that very much. I do. I'm sorry about. I know I missed you. Tried to get a hold of me to do a show. I'm really sorry.
That's true.
I had like 3,000 pieces of email coming in,
Wow.
and my phone was all jacked up too. And
Well, I
I was just having a terrible problem.
I just expect to be at the top of all those lists. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, D.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't even find. Well, people that I know closely, I couldn't even find their messages in that pile.
Wow.
Sure.
Of stuff, half of it. So, it's like I'm just not used to it. I'm so sorry.
No, Asher in the chat room.
I love you guys. You know what? Really, you are
He just
really
retracted it.
at the top, toward the top of the pile. I mean, even of the people I know well. So you really are.
Well, that's good. So what's on your mind tonight?
Owls.
Owls?
Owls, of course.
Well, please tell us. What's going on with owls?
So I'll give you a little bit about owls, but also, well, anything, actually, since we're talking about anything tonight?
It's a mayhem. That's what we do. If it's paranormal,
Mayhem?
it's on the table.
What we do.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
let me see. Owls, and the native cards that I use, and Deb uses too, my dear Sissy Pooh uses, the same cards I do. And so owl is connected with, it is connected with death. I mean, there are some tribes that use the same word owl as ghost. But also, it is connected with feminine power and occupies the same place in the night as the owl, as the eagle does in the daytime, and therefore is considered to be the night eagle. And it's also not just Lilith's bird, but Athena's bird. And so that's how it got to be connected with wisdom, is the Athena connection.
Oh, okay.
Lilith, too.
I
So,
should have
yeah,
known
that's
that.
how it got to be the wise bird, yeah.
Right. Okay. I should have known that from Clash of the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, okay. And so, there's a little rundown. And yes, this guy did do numerous, and you might want to look into it. Gosh, I wish I could remember his name. He did interview lots and lots of people about their owl experiences just before. They also, almost all the time, talking about owls, and when he looks further into it, they've also been abducted. So
Now again,
it happens so frequently. He says, well, there's got to be a connection here.
so you're again
All
talking about extraterrestrial abduction.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
All right.
Extraterrestrial, as far as we know.
Right.
But here's where he really got the big tip-off, is that some people would report having seen owls looking at them over the hood of their car.
Oh.
Well, there are no owls that large.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Depends on what was he driving what kind of car, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there's some pretty large owls, but
Yeah.
not that large.
I think the great horned owl is
If
pretty
you
good
got
sized.
an owl looking at you over the hood of your car, that's not an owl.
Right. No, I agree.
But people report it. So he thought, no, wait a minute. Okay, we need to look a little closer at that. And
Right.
it's true. So now it's not a negative thing. I mean, people who get abducted after seeing an owl don't necessarily have a negative abduction experience.
Sure.
A lot of them actually have a positive one. So, but that seems to be a mixed bag because we know that grays can make you see what they want you to.
Right.
And also, another thing that people will report, they will report other large-eyed animals like deer or something, seeing them staring at them. Like if somebody reports, somebody would also, and this was from another source, another thing they would report is a group of deer staring at them before an abduction.
Oh, wow.
Anything with large eyes, great big eyes, usually is what the person will remember, but it's actually a screen memory in a lot of cases. So,
Okay.
just to get that off the board and out of the way, and I suppose it's also part of the mystique of the bird. You know, if that's the way it is, I remember when I had my experience. It wasn't owls. It was deer.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
there were a lot of owls around my house. Oh, you know what?
Uh-oh.
Here it comes. There's a epiphany
That
here.
is really freaky. I had an owl experience before my death. Oh, that's really weird.
Wow.
Before I died, and revived. My gosh, I had forgotten.
Right. Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's really powerful.
Okay.
Huh.
So, yeah, there's definitely it's something that needs to be looked more into. The other thing I wanted to say is, why do people think that they need to talk to ghosts at night? I would actually advise against nighttime,
Really?
and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, please do, because I'm
Yeah.
curious about this. I've often thought the same thing. That ghosts may not be noticed as much at day, but I think they're probably just always around. But
They are.
I personally think that a lot of the shows are done at night because it adds a suspense to it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah.
please tell us
Yeah.
your theory.
I totally agree with that. But the reason I would say daytime is because, for one thing, if there are spirits in a place, they're going to be there at any time of the day. They're not going to be there just at night. That is
No.
wrong thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
Total bull, pucky that we are taught. The other reason I would say you're safer investigating if it's really ghosts that you want to talk to in the daytime is because there are other things that can show up at night, and that tends to be more negative things because there are some things that literally can't tolerate daylight very well, and they're the more negative things.
Okay.
So I would say if you're just wanting to talk to dead folks, you would probably have just as easy a time. Heck, I used to just go to, they don't know if you walk into a cemetery in the daytime, they don't know why you're there. You could be there because you've got a loved one there,
Right.
and they usually don't say much to you. I mean,
Sure.
it might be a little easier to do, but at night there are some creatures, and I'm talking about the interdimensional ones, particularly that really don't like daylight.
Are these the shadow men and shadow people?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the creatures that don't like daylight, like the parasitical and archontic type things. A lot of them, you won't find them in the daylight too much, but they will kind of try and trick you at night. And so I would say, if you don't want the more negative stuff, you could much more safely do your work in the daytime. However, If you want to run into the other kind of thing,
Yeah.
if you're investigating that, well, yeah, night's a good time.
Right. And
In fact, there is.
Hollywood in the chat just said, I thought the lack of light enhanced other senses. And that's a good point, too, on the part of the investigators. Yeah.
That might be too. Well, it's easier to see them sometimes if you can see,
Right.
depending on how you see. I have a friend that needs bright light to see things,
Oh, okay.
and I have other friends that need it to be dark. Now, when you normally see things the best, though, I would say if you really want prime time to be able to see things, the best time is in what we call the tween times. They were really anciently talked about as being prime time for seeing anything. And the tween times are in between day and night and really if you want a scientific
hold on,
view
Dee.
of that,
You're going to have to hold that
it's
thought.
your rods and cones.
Okay, we're going to have to hold that thought because we're going to go to our break.
Okay.
We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for the last half hour of the show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. This is our Saturday edition. Awesome night. We are cruising through the evening. We have Diane on the phone now, and we've got Naysay on hold, so we'll get to Naysay in just a couple minutes here. Yeah, Julia, I did see your feed. It was good. You did a good job. Julia did some on location stuff the other day. It looked like a lot of fun. Looked like a beautiful place, so very cool. But we are just doing a mayhem tonight, ladies and gentlemen, which is kind of a paranormal potpourri. So welcome back, Dee.
Hi, paranormal potpourri. I love it, Brent. Okay, so basically you've got, I was saying, between times anciently and actually in a lot of magical practices, that's considered not just the tween times between night and day, but also the hinges of the year, like which occur at what were the holidays, which were around the equinoxes and the solstices, are when things are shifting from one thing to another. But one of the reasons, now this is once again which eyes, somebody did say, which eyes are you seeing with?
Right.
But if you want to see something with your regular eyes, what your regular eyes see differently at these times, because it's trying to switch between the rods and the cones. When the lighting is kind of dim, you might see some things that are a little different than you would normally see, that are a little outside of the range of your seeing. And the scientific way of saying it is that the reason you see it out of the corner of your eye is because the rods are more situated outside the rim of your eye, where or something.
Okay.
It has something to do with the way the rods and cones are placed. So you'll see things out of the corner of your eye a lot more.
Very cool.
But also at those times of the day, where when you could see, where it was said you could see through the illusion easier too.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
So I would say, probably, if you want to be an investigator and you want to see something, and I think this could be something, of course, with your third eye too, because as you're switching between the daytime and the nighttime routine, probably there are other things that go on inside you. I mean, I can't speak to that right now. I haven't seen anything on that. But that's when most things occur. And I know for me, that's when most things I could see more.
Okay.
It is either around, and I think that's why midnight, the witching hour, because really in the middle of the night, you're switching between night and you're heading out into day. You're heading towards day.
Sure.
That would be another break point there.
Okay.
So, and yeah, so basically though, I have seen more things. I used to go to the park after everything else, I mean, and I'd wait for my ex and we'd go down to the park together. So that would mean after work. A lot of times that was afternoon to evening, and we'd stay there until they basically came to kick us out a lot of times.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing this with us.
Yeah, so that's when a lot of stuff you will see it. So, okay, just advice, and see you next time.
All right, my lady, have a great night, and I'll be in touch.
Good night, Dee.
Hey, good night.
Good night. All right, so that was Miss Diane Swiger. She's been a longtime friend and contributor to the show and guest. So let's move to our next caller, and this, I believe, is our good friend Naysay.
Bonjour.
Hey,
Brent
brother.
and Don.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing as fantastic as the universe will allow. Thank you for asking. And how are you, my friends?
I think I'm good, Don.
I'm doing pretty darn good over here myself, and I appreciate you. Thanks, Naysay.
Well, I appreciate you too, both of you too. And you said it was a PPP all the way home into the stretch of the night. with the Paranormal Portal potpourri.
It is.
That is fun to say.
It's a tongue
But
twister.
I just wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said it's a tongue twister, but yeah.
Right. Well, I just wanted to call in and give my 0.038 cents.
Okay.
One thing that I have been noticing and researching about is as we go through this existence and we eat all the additives and the preservatives and all of the petrochemical byproducts and the manipulated foods, as we continue to plasticize ourselves, and then when we die, they put formaldehyde in us to make us even more plastic. And then they stick us inside a hermetically sealed coffin, and then they stick us inside of a cement block. Now, if our vessels have been housing our entity, our essence, our soul, our spirit, and our spirit creates a connection to that physical body, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I believe that the complete cycle of the existence does not occur to where the entity breaks apart and goes into the ether, because we are all energy or fields. When the almighty sun is shining directly down upon us, it is sending a bombardment of fields, gamma rays, electromagnetic waves. And as the waves from our oogly googlies bombard or collide with that sun, we see the objects in front of us during the day. At night, because we do not see that collision occurring, and all of the electromagnetic waves from the heavenly sun do not penetrate through the flat or round or globe or sphere banana earth. And because of that absence of that field, then there is the ability for some of these entities to be out and about. And some of these unfortunate past humane beings or humans, when they are not allowed to go back into the source, back into the field, and they've been here for many, many, many years, sometimes they forget what they were. And as they stay in the dark, metaphorically and literally negative, then that is when they build up to become these entities that aren't of malevolent. And there's some entities, through my experience, that don't understand the same concept that we do as positive, neutral, and negative. And they're just neutral. And what they do may cause us harm, but they're not doing it for any purpose whatsoever. They're just being what they are.
Right.
Now, I'm not condoning or condemning any entity, because it is a miraculous of the perfection it is, being the only entity that there is. But I will make a judgment or a prejudice against action, because that's all we can be, is the action of our entity. But I do always wish to share that when you do these manipulations of the fields, or to go try to experience these different entities, that you always protect yourself.
Yes.
As you lock your doors at night, or you buy insurance, or you put on pads before you play football. Same is the exterior world and the inner world of the metaphysics, because there is unfortunately these entities that are specifically there to cause you fear, as there are entities that are there to give you love and help you share those states of being.
Right.
So be careful what you do, and giggle when you can.
Right.
Very cool. Now, so protection, what are some of the ways that you advocate protection, what do you do?
Well, the number one way is just the intention of it, because you are the miraculous source of power. And unfortunately, through the conditioning and the social upbringing within America, that we're constantly doubting ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When ultimately we do have that essence, that power, and the ability to tap in, just like our two legs, like two prongs when they go into your outlet. When you're standing up tall and your feet are on the ground and you're grounded and you're connecting and feeling that energy, oh yeah, you have all the power there is. But there are other modalities and tools that you could utilize. You know, some people create magic wands. Some people burn sage. As an Anishinaabe and Nini, we use sage, cedar, sweetgrass, and asema or tobacco when we do a lot of our rituals and ceremonies. You know, but what I do for my own thing is all of my portals that can go outside, we hang cedar boughs
right
over the portals. Because when you go out and about and there's essence of residue of the people that you come in contact, because we do leave residue. Even if you don't touch someone, you will leave your essence on them as like a residue. And when you go out and about, if there are entities out there that are the predator type nature, and they get a little whiff or a sense or an inkling to that essence that may be on you of one of your friends, then they may just as well attach on you. It's funny when you think of the churches and the way that the doors are constructed in the old Gothic churches. Not only was it a metaphor of the woman's opening, but they also had a belief that the entities and the spirits couldn't get inside the church, and they would hang from your doors like tentacles. So when you went out of a person's home, they would latch onto you, thus having the big, huge vaulted doors, because then it would be harder for these entities to be holding on to the portals as you go in and out.
So when you're hanging these cedar boughs, do you hang them inside above that door, or is it outside above the door?
Inside above the door.
Okay, that's what I thought when we were talking about that another time.
Right.
I thought that's what you meant, but I thought I better ask because I don't want to misrepresent that if I ever offer that as advice. But yeah, I mean, and plus that cedar smells so good. Anyway. It smells awesome.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just share with a ritual or ceremony that we do when we do cleansing of my house, and we usually by strict, following the equinox and the solstices is when we really do the cleansing. But anytime, if anyone in the house, I get a vibe about it because I have people that come help me with my daily living activities.
Sure.
And who knows what they're bringing in.
Right.
So I pay attention to my, I try to tune into it. Plus it is my home. So I know it pretty well. It's my bear cave. Plus I ask my daughters,
right.
and I ask some of the people that I trust. But what we'll do when we cleanse is we'll open up all the windows throughout the house.
Okay.
And then we'll get like our hand drums, or we'll get some rattles. And then we'll start with burning sage and sweetgrass and then add cedar, and we'll go counterclockwise or clockwise. Like you go down your basement and then you follow the left wall or the right wall, and you go all the way around the home. Be intuitive to it, and then open up all of the cupboards, open up the closets and all that. And then also, shake your rattles and beat your drums. And all you're doing is you're just trying to move the air, move the essence, the spirits that may be caught in your house, because we do live in square homes.
Yeah.
And so it's harder for it to move. It gets stagnant in the corners and stuff. So we'll go around the entire house, counterclockwise or clockwise, and then we'll close the windows behind us. And then we go up to the next floor and do the same thing. And then we close the doors and the windows behind us as we go.
Okay.
One thing that we'll say Majan Manadu, which means like go, Majan means to go, to leave.
Okay.
And then we go through the house, and then we go to the last portal or door, and then we close it up. And then we usually, when we're doing the cedar brows, as we go out the door, we usually have someone reaches up and pull it out with you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bring it like as it's hanging above your portal.
Mm-hmm.
And I suggest people do these more around your doors with your cedar brows, because that's where you have the most entrance where people are coming in and out. But when you go to replace those, make them all in advance and then smudge them, burn your sage and smudge them, put your intent into them, because like I said, you are the energy, you are the power.
Yep.
So put your power into it. And that just reminded me, may I humbly suggest that when you introduce yourself to any entity,
Mm-hmm.
don't use your whole name.
Right. Yeah.
Just use your first name, or even preferably a nickname.
Oh, okay.
Because your name is your essence, is your power, is your energy. Why do you think every legal document the government has on you, they have it in all capital letters? And we've been conditioned to say that screaming and yelling when you're on chat rooms, and texting is when you do all capitals.
Mm-hmm.
But so you have all your cedar boughs, have them all well prepared. When you go to replace them, you take the ones and you pull them out. If they're ones that are above your window, you take them down from your window, but you try to leave them along the walls. And I would suggest to take them down after you open up all of the windows and the doors, then take them out at that time. And it's nice if you can have one of those little fire pits in your backyard, or if you do have where you can burn,
mm-hmm.
to put them there and make it like a ritual out of it. I suggest doing it during the day before night, because as Lady D said, and as I was talking earlier, when you don't have that full brilliance of the light, that specific energy,
Mm-hmm.
and the darkness is there, the shadows do thicken or get darker.
Oh.
But most of all, listen to your heart and listen to your head, and the answer usually is between there.
Very cool. Yeah. I think you're on it, brother. I think you're on it.
Yeah, I'm on something. Cannabis! Cannabis! And I can't believe we did not do a metaphysical, paranormal, portal, cannabis 420 show. Please forgive me.
Oh, well,
Maybe next year.
We were blunting in spirit. I don't know. Maybe another time. There'll be 420 again next year.
Oh, there's always a 420 or Hitler's birthday sometime.
Oh, nice. Oh.
Or was that the anniversary of Columbine? No, it was 420, that whole cannabis thing, right? That's what it was about.
That's what we were talking about. But thank you for
All right,
calling, brother.
Hey,
yeah,
Brent, before I go real quick, can you share with me and the audience how we can get more and more of you two?
Well, you can get more of us by... God, you haven't done that to me in a long time. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. You can check us out on YouTube if you aren't already, and subscribe and see us doing this in person and recorded for your convenient watching. And you can, wherever you find your podcasts, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of each week, you can find a brand new Paranormal Portal podcast uploading starting Monday. We're going to start couple weeks ago,
Monday.
but or last week, but we're starting this Monday, so watch for us there. And you can find us on tfrlive.com, and you can become a member, and it's all wonderful. So thank you, brother, for calling in. It's great to hear from you.
I love you. And doesn't it also help if you like in the chat room on YouTube?
It does. Definitely does, because it just shows YouTube that people are engaged, and then they recommend the videos more often. So it's a win-win for all of us. So.
All right, brothers. I love you guys. Apeg ish bimad ziwe and toodles.
All right. We'll see you, brother.
Night, Naysay. All righty.
Ooh, you got a dial tone. He wasn't talking to you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not worried about it, because I'm sure he knows that we love him dearly.
We do. We love you all dearly, and it's always a great, great experience to do the show every time. We've been doing this show. I've been doing it for 3 years. Don, how long for you?
April of 17.
April of 17. So you've been doing it 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years for Don, 3 years for me, and that's 3 years of love. That's all I got to say. It's always a wonderful thing. Did you have anything you wanted to cover before we ran out of show, which is about 4 minutes away?
Not really. I mean, I've got all kinds of things I want to share. If you don't know, there's this person named Paisley Wild that does a show called Spaces Between. She's on TFR, 11 o'clock PST, PM PST, Pacific Standard Time, on Fridays. Mm-hmm. And then also she's uploading her stuff onto YouTube at, you can search for either Paisley Wild, that's WILDE, or the Spaces Between on YouTube, and you can catch those there. She talks about like some of the stuff you were talking about earlier, paganism, Wicca, things like that.
Excellent.
And so check her out. Otherwise, just keep coming back and like, share, subscribe to the Paranormal Portal, and keep us growing.
And I'd just like to leave a quick message to all the trolls that showed up last night. There was 2 of them last night in last night's show. First of all, I think you guys are cowards. I think you're ridiculous, and we will have a zero tolerance policy for that. I think it's absolutely childish to show up on somebody else's show and degrade people and put them down. Be an adult. I don't like The View, so I don't watch The View.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. If you don't like something, just don't watch it. Just be some kind of an adult. That was ridiculous and childish, and it's stupid, and there'll be none of that going forward. It should, it's kind of a learning curve for us because we've never really dealt with that before. But just know, if you're watching the show, if you show up again and do that, that'll be the last time you'll be showing up on the Paranormal Portal, because you'll be banned. I don't care how creative you want to be with your names. I can delete all day long. I can ban all day long. So don't do that. Just, if you've got an opinion, do your own show and talk about your opinion, but don't come in my show and throw your garbage around my chat room. That's absolutely childish, ridiculous, and it's not going to happen ever again. It's okay if you don't like something. It's okay if you don't agree with something. What's not okay is going to somebody else's forum and talking about what you believe and what your opinion is about it. So, it's like you don't go into somebody else's house and kick up your feet and tell them how their furniture sucks.
Right.
People just don't do things like that. And part of the problem is probably that the internet enables people to be just absolutely stupid. In so many ways, it's infuriated me, and I have a really big fuse, and it takes a lot to get me upset. But when I read that garbage yesterday, it was like, there's something. I take a lot of pride in this show, and the Paranormal Portal is a discussion. If you don't agree with that discussion, just stay the hell away. Don't come into my room and drop a deuce on my floor and then expect me to be okay with that.
Yeah.
That's just not okay. It's never going to be okay. People come on the show because they want to share ideas. They want to share experiences. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let people show up and abuse those people that do decide to come forward. So just be warned. That will never happen again. And the mods have all been instructed on how to handle that. So this is due notice. I don't care if you want to bash my show. I don't care. But you won't treat people poorly on my show ever again. So I just needed to make that public service announcement.
There you go.
So
Nothing said about that. That's
all right, guys. So we're about done for tonight, but stick around if you're on TFR, iHeart, tune in to TalkStream Live. Jimmy Jean will be coming up next and dropping his unique form of entertainment all over the map. So have a great show, Jimmy, and it's a pleasure to have you following us, brother. And we will be back. I'll be back tomorrow night with more of the Paranormal Portal bedtime stories. So
we love you too, Taz.
Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take
And
care of each other.
everybody
Help each
else.
other out. Find the magic in every day and laugh as much as you can. Love you guys.
Good
Have a good night.
night.